All right, let's move on to our final email of the day. And our final email of the day comes to us from Ben Eat Chocolate. Good on you, Ben. Who writes, while we saw a lot of faces in the Avengers Endgame trailer, it seems to give most of its focus to Captain America and Iron Man. This makes sense to me since these are really the two pillars of the MCU up to this point. My question for you guys is, do you think that Endgame will end up being more of an Iron Man-centric movie or a Captain America-centric movie? I know they'll both get lots of story and screen time, but if you had to pick one, which one would it be? Robert, we went into Infinity War, and it was really 4 stories being told. It was that of Thanos, that of Thor, that of Iron Man leading kind of one contingent, and one of Captain America leading another contingent. Civil War was clearly a Captain America movie because it says Captain America, but do you think they might lean a little bit more towards one of these two main characters going into Endgame?
No, as a matter of fact, I think, remember, in Avengers Infinity War, the rift between Stark and Steve Rogers is still very much there. They have not reconciled from the end of Civil War. And they never meet in Avengers Infinity War. Captain America and Stark never meet with one another. I think the crux of whatever happens in Endgame, the emotional pillar or the core of that film is going to be the Stark-Steve Rogers relationship. And something is going to happen where they're going to find out they either need each other, they're both going to die, one's going to die, maybe no one's going to die. But whatever happens in Avengers Endgame, it is going to be as much about saving humanity and the rest of half the universe as it is about the reconciliation of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. At least that's what I think.
I think one of the best and most under-talked about lines from Infinity War was when Banner, he's on Earth now, and Stark is telling him about how the Avengers split up. What, like the Beatles? And the line is this, Tony, and I might be paraphrasing here, Thanos is coming. It doesn't matter who you are or aren't talking to right now.
Right.
And I know I'm paraphrasing, that wasn't word for word, but that line was really rather smart. And it's actually a good philosophy of life. Me and so-and-so got to have a fight over a shirt. You know what? You're going to die someday. Is a shirt really worth being pissed off at each other over or something like that? But yeah, I think you're right. I think when we get one of the pivotal scenes, I think, of this movie, regardless of the direction they go or how it ends, is going to be when Cap and Iron Man reunite. I think that's going to be a huge moment in this film. And I think that's going to be, a part of that conflict between them is part of the emotional weight of Cap. Because I do believe, and I might be dead wrong on this, I believe in the trailer when we see him saying, this has got to work because I don't know what I'm going to do if it doesn't. I think it's him mounting a mission to get Tony. I don't know that that's for sure, but it would certainly give a lot of emotional weight to it if that was the case, that he's got to go rescue this guy that he's fighting with.
I have to imagine that the remaining Avengers that are left post-Snap, and if the movie does in fact take place years later, Captain America is probably thinking to himself, if I hadn't gone on the run, he probably blames himself for this happening.
Maybe.
Because if the Avengers were still there, maybe it never would have happened. Probably not, but he doesn't know that. And I think the guilt that he is carrying around with him is going to be one of the beginnings of Endgame, and I think it's going to be wrenching.
And Tony could feel the same thing. Tony, if I had just had Cap's back when this whole thing was going on, you're right, that's a great dynamic that may bring them. But I think you and I both agree, though, that probably isn't going to give the weight of the focus to either one of them. I think it's going to be on the two of them, but I think not one or the other.
Absolutely, because they've been playing with this broken relationship now over the space of a couple of films. And that was definitely an undercurrent all throughout Avengers Infinity War. So
all right.
It's rough.